In this video, I'm going over the most explosive and overpowered scheme in Madden 25. We are in the Philadelphia Eagles playbook, and I'll be breaking down how to run 3 of the best money plays in the entire game. After that, I'll hop into some online head-to-head games to show you guys just how unstoppable these plays truly are. And as always, you can find the full Philadelphia Eagles offense ebook along with tons of other money plays and one-play touchdowns on PlaybookProfessor.gg. And with that, let's get started. This is going to be our base pass play in the gun trips tight end formation. The play is curl flat, and we always want to have our formation flipped so that our trips receivers are lined up on the wide side of the field. Now before the snap, the adjustments are to put your tight end on a drag and put your outside trips receiver on a streak. Now after the snap, the first read is going to be our middle trips receiver on the flat route, and if your opponent is in zone coverage and he's leaving the flat open, then you can hit that flat route with a pass lead up and get some really easy yards on the outside. Now the second read is going to be to quickly peek our outside trips receiver on the streak. And most of the time we aren't going to throw this, but if your opponent happens to be in a cover 2 shell, and I just put the defense in a cover 2 right here, then against cover 2, that is actually going to be a one-play touchdown on the outside. And so that's why after we look at the flat route, we want to then peek that outside receiver on the streak, and if your opponent is in cover 2, you have an easy touchdown. But again, like I said, majority of the time you aren't going to be throwing that, but we still want to peek it just in case. Now the third read is going to be our tight end on the drag. And against zone coverage, this drag can get into a really nice spot because what's going to happen is you have all these other routes that are pulling the zone defenders apart. You've got the middle trips receiver on the flat route pulling zone defenders outside, and you've got this post route pushing the zone defenders back and pulling them inside. And what you end up with is the drag can get into a nice clean pocket of space for easy yards after the catch. And if it ends up being man coverage, we know that drags are awesome man beating routes. And so if we put the defense in man coverage and we go ahead and snap the ball, we can see that the tight end on the drag can obliterate his man defender, and we get some really awesome yards again after the catch. Now the fourth read is going to be the running back on the Texas route. And this is a route that can get open oftentimes if the user ends up running after the tight end on the drag. So let's say you hit the drag a couple times. What will end up happening is if we take this linebacker right here to simulate the user, we'll man him up on the tight end to kind of show that's what it's going to be like when the user is running after the drag. And what's going to happen is it's going to leave the middle of the field open, and that's where you'll go ahead and hit the Texas route. And so if we kind of simulate that, then late, you can see that the Texas route is going to be wide open over the middle. Now, in some years, this Texas route is a really good man-beating route as well. I would say this year it's an okay man-beating route, and so we can put the defense in cover 1 right here just so you can kind of get a feel for it. And it's also, we have a 3-rec on the field, and he's going to definitely be getting in our way as well. And so you can see that like right there, it didn't do that well against man coverage. And so I don't want you guys to rely on the Texas route as a man beater. It can beat man coverage, but I want to show you guys that the purpose of the Texas route is not to beat man coverage. It's to get in an open spot against zone coverage over the middle of the field. But let's say your opponent is in man coverage, and I think the defense is base aligned here. So let me make sure I go and put them on default aligned for this final rep, because what's so great about this post route, which is our final read, let me find cover 1 right here. This post on AJ Brown is money against man coverage. And so I like having the post. I don't like having it on a streak, which is what some people do with this curl flat setup. I like leaving it on the post because if it's cover 0 or cover 1, then you have a great chance of that post getting separation. And he even had to run through traffic. He got bumped by that linebacker, I think. I think that this 3-rec bumped him. And so let's scoot Bobby Wagner out of the way. We'll put him on QB spy this time, because as long as he doesn't get bumped, this post is going to do a really good job. And so you can see right there, he absolutely cooked him. And of course, Jalen Hurts smoked the throw. That's kind of been a theme for me, labbing with the Eagles here in practice mode. But that's besides the point. As you guys can see, the post is getting separation. And so if you need to beat man coverage, this is how we're going to do it, is with that post route. And of course, also with the tight end drag. And so this is our base setup on the play curl flat. and it's really powerful. Make sure you read those underneath routes because the flat route and the tight end drag route are going to be absolute money. But of course, we can also hit the Texas route or the post route for some awesome yards over the top. This is going to be our base pass play in the gun bunch open tight end formation. The play is wide trail, and we always want to be on a hash with our formation flipped so that our running back and bunch receivers are lined up on the wide side of the field. Now, there's only one adjustment that we're going to make before the snap, and that is to put our tight end on a streak. Now, after the snap, our first read is the outside bunch receiver on the drag, and if our opponent is leaving him open underneath, we're just going to take our easy yards and rack up those yards after the catch. And against zone coverage, as we know, drags are great man-beating routes. And so if we see man coverage, we still want to look to the drag right away. And if our drag gets the separation that we're looking for, we're going to put that ball out in front of him and then rack up those yards after the catch. Now, the second read is going to be, depending on the spacing, it'll either be the running back on the swing route or the inside bunch receiver on the trail route. Most of the time, you're going to want to peek the running back on the swing route. And if it is zone coverage, especially man coverage, the swing route won't get open. But if it is zone coverage, then you, of course, can always go to the running back underneath, try to make a defender miss, and you can get a few yards after the catch. The swing route is probably the route I throw to the least because what it usually does is it's usually pushing defenders outside towards the sideline, and it's getting those other routes like the drag and the trail route open over the short middle. But if your opponent does leave it open, there's nothing wrong with taking your yards to the swing route and getting some easy yards in the flat. Now, the third read is going to be our inside bunch receiver on the trail route. And this is a really nice route. Typically, a user will get, like the first time you throw to the drag, the user will get caught up trying to take away the drag. And what happens is the trail route looks like he's going outside, maybe on like a flat route or something. And then he comes back inside and just gets in a really nice spot. It's almost like an inverted zig or a return route. It functions very similar to a return route and just gets in a really awesome spot. And I love throwing this trail route after the user overcommits to taking away the drag. And against man coverage, it can get open as well. I would say it doesn't do quite as good of a job against man coverage as the return routes, but it still does a pretty good job against man coverage. And so if it's man coverage and if the drag is guarded, then we can still throw this trail route as well. The spacing was a little bit odd there. Like, I don't know why the drag and trail route were so close together. Typically, they're going to be a little bit more spread out, but you saw that the trail route did beat his man pretty well. And we'll go ahead and get one more route in one more rep in just to see what happens. So like right there, that time, the trail route did not get the separation. And so, like I said, it's a little bit hit or miss on the man coverage, but in game, more often than not, the trail route still does a pretty good job against man coverage. Now, the final route of our progression is going to be the post route from our middle bunch receiver. And this route, we're using the tight end streak to kind of push the safety back. So like in this case, we're looking at a cover 3 shell right here, and I shaded down this time. And so what we're going to see is that the hook curl defenders are going to stay down on the drag and the trail routes. That's going to force us to go through our entire progression and hit the post deep whenever he gets into a pocket of open space. And so if we go ahead and snap this ball, we're going to see that in fact, interestingly enough, the hook curl actually ran deep with the streak. That's actually not a behavior I expected. And so, of course, if this was an actual game, this is the hook curl I was talking about right here. This was shaded down. He still ran back with the streak. So if this is an actual game, you, of course, would still be throwing to either the drag or the trail route because they're both wide open. But if we want to simulate a user or how zones honestly typically act, then what we're going to do is we'll just put these guys in 5-yard hooks to simulate what's going to happen if those hook curls are actually playing down and taking away your underneath stuff, because a good user will actually have his linebackers taking away the short stuff. And again, that is where we need this final read in the progression. We need this post route. And so this time, if we snap the ball, the linebackers stay low. And that is where, with a pass lead down, we can go ahead and hit the post. And the pass lead is very important, guys. If you don't pass lead this down, you run the risk of it getting swatted or intercepted by the deep safety. But The streak is there pushing those guys back. As long as you pass lead this down, you have a ton of space to throw to this. We're essentially building a high-low over the middle. The defenders, these linebackers, they cannot guard the post over the middle and the drag and trail route over the middle. They have to go high or low. They have to do one or the other. And so if they guard high, you throw low. If they guard low, you throw high. And that is the beauty of this route combo. That's why I love it so much. The post route also can do an okay job against man coverage as well. Mainly against man coverage, I'm almost always thrown to the drag. The drag just does so insanely well. But in a man coverage situation, the post can get separation as well. So right here, we'll just kind of, again, throw it down and outside. Just keep it away from that middle third. In that case, that was a cover 1 right there. Just keep it away from any guys dropping deep, and you'll be good to go. And so you can see that we can beat man coverage, we can beat zone coverage, and as long as you get that pass lead down, that's probably the only tricky part of this play is the pass lead down. If you pass lead this up, that safety's picking it off. But a pass lead down, it is being caught in open space, and you're taking it for a lot of yards. And so that is Y trail, and that is our base pass play in the gun bunch open tight end formation. This is a super powerful run play that I like to use in short yardage situations, and especially when I start to get near the goal line. The play is jet touch pass in the formation gun normal Y off close, and you can run this from either hash. Now, if you want to have the most space possible to work with on the sideline, then you'll want to make sure that your running back is lined up on the wide side of the field, since that is the direction that this jet touch pass is going to. Now, when you press hike, your slot receiver is going to come in motion. He's going to take the jet touch pass, and then you're just going to take it around the edge, follow your blockers, and hopefully you'll be into the end zone. Now, it's very important, just like on any run plays, to not hold the sprint button until you have your running lane. If you hold the sprint button too soon, the blocks are going to shed faster, and you might take a loss on the play. So like right here, I was not holding the sprint button after getting the ball. So like right here, I'm not holding sprint. I'm just going to run normal, just hold the left stick in the direction I want to run. If I press the sprint button, the way the game is coded, there's a much better chance that this defensive lineman here, number 92, will shed his block. But by not pressing sprint, he does not shed his block. And then once we're in the open space and trying to get to the edge, then we hit the sprint button and we are into the end zone. Of course, you also want to read the alignment of the defense as well. In this case, with them being so spread out, and you can see that there's a lot of space to run up the middle, this is maybe not a situation where you'd want to run the jet touch pass. It can still work, but of course it's going to be a little bit tougher, and we still got in there anyway. But especially if the defense is stacking the box, if everybody is pinched, that's going to be the best case scenario for running the jet touch pass, because you're just going to have such an advantage around the outside. And of course, like always, you're not going to mindlessly take it outside. You always need to look for the cutback lane. So like right here, we were initially going to try and take this outside. Then it turned out that defender had outside leverage. So we cut it back inside and we are into the end zone. And so jet touch pass is just a really, really powerful play. And I love using this, especially down here around the goal line where it can get particularly difficult to punch the ball in. Jet touch pass is great for getting those final few yards and scoring when you get down in the red zone. So those are our 3 overpowered money plays, and those are just a small piece of the full Philadelphia Eagles offense ebook on PlaybookProfessor.gg. And the ebook goes way more in depth into gun trips tight end, gun bunch open tight end, and a variety of short yardage plays throughout the playbook. But now I'm going to take these plays into some online head-to-head games, and I'm going to only run these 3 plays to show you just how overpowered they are for moving the ball when you're on offense. So in my first game, I'm playing as the Eagles taking on the Rams, and to start things off, I'm in gun trips tight end, calling our setup out of the play curl flat. I'm going through my read progressions, and I have my tight end wide open. We fight for some extra yards, and we have an easy first down. Now I'm in gun bunch open tight end, going with wide trail. And on this one, my opponent was in man coverage, and it actually surprised me a bit. Tried to hit the trail route, but it ended up being really good coverage. However, I went right back to wide trail. This time my opponent was just in normal zone coverage, and the trail route got wide open. That brings us to 3rd and 2, and we are in a short yardage situation, so I'm going with the jet touch pass. Sure enough, we take it around the edge. We get amazing blocking on the outside. I wasn't able to make the defender miss, but we're all the way down to the 37-yard line. Now I'm back in gun trips tight end, but since we're on the left hash, I did flip my formation to get my trips receivers on the right side. And once again, the tight end on the drag is wide open. My possession catch it just to make sure we don't get hit right after the catch. Now on 2nd and 1, this time my opponent gets away with some pass interference on the drag, kind of just threw off the spacing of everything, but we did take a sack. Now on 3rd and 13 and Y trail, I've seen that my opponent is using underneath on every play, and that means I know that the post route is going to be open over the top. I just had to pass lead it down to keep it away from the safety playing over top, and we have a huge first down. Now on 1st and 10, I'm going back to the trail route. That route is so money, and the user is so distracted by the drag over the middle that the trail route is just wide open. Now on 2nd and inches, I'm going back to the jet touch pass, and this time we cut it inside and we get across the goal line for the easy touchdown. Now on defense, on 1st and 10, I'm going with an engage blitz, and the engage blitz worked absolutely beautifully. Our blitzing linebacker came through completely unblocked and put our opponent in a 2nd and 19. And all these blitzes are in the Chargers defense ebook on PlaybookProfessor.gg. 2nd and 19, hit him with a loop blitz. 3rd and 19, I tried to set up our slot cornerback blitz, but I actually screwed it up. However, we still got a really good block shed. My opponent had nothing. So on 4th and 19, we're back to the loop blitz. My opponent does not keep an extra blocker in, and he gets hit for a turnover on downs. And I thought we were going to have another chance to play some offense, but he decided that he was done, and we're on to the next game. So in this game, we're taking on the Commanders. I'm on offense again to start, and once again, we're in curl flat, hitting the tight end on the drag, and getting some easy yards after the catch. So on 1st down, I'm back in Y trail, and this time we're going to once again hit the trail route. That's at least 3 or 4 times I've hit the trail route so far just in these 2 games, and my opponents just are really struggling to guard it. This one, I accidentally snapped the ball too soon. I did not get my tight end on the drag, but fortunately the Texas route was wide open anyway. This play right here, I made a bad read. Honestly, it could have been an interception. I just had a bad read. I got to open my eyes. Fortunately, I make up for it, but on the very next play, I hit the Texas route to Saquon, and we get all the way down to the 5-yard line. And you guys probably know what's coming next, the jet touch pass. This play has just been absolute money. Follow the blockers, get across the goal line for an easy touchdown drive. Now, on the defensive side, my opponent did get across midfield, and then I started to clamp down, and I was running the loop blitz. He was keeping an extra blocker in to pick up the loop. However, he had no answer for the pass rush just coming in on the outside. And this time he saw the looper, freaked out, rolled out, and threw me an easy interception. And that is how that game ended. Now moving on to my 3rd game, I am once again taking on the Commanders, and I am once again starting in gun trips tight end in our setup out of the play curl flat. But this time, I'm actually going to see an opportunity to hit our first read, which is the middle trips receiver on the flat route for an easy 7-yard gain. Next, I'm back in Y trail, and this time I hit the drag and get some really easy yards after the catch. On 1st and 10, it's back to curl flat, but on this play, we can see how the drag does such a great job of beating man coverage, and then Dallas Goedert decides to just go beast mode and make everybody miss, and it ends up going all the way for a touchdown. A pretty unexpected touchdown, but we will absolutely take it. Now on the defensive side of the ball, our loop blitz was going absolutely crazy. My opponent had absolutely no answer for that. He does run the ball, which is a smart move there. So that's actually one of the better ways to counter the loop blitz. Then he just goes under center and tries to keep pounding the ball up the middle, but my user is able to stop him. And then on 4th and 1, he decides to go and try and surprise me with a pass, and he actually does scramble for the first down. So I made a mental note that, okay, we cannot let him do that again. We're going to use a QB spy on pretty much every play going forward. Now, my opponent does try to use some jet touch passes on me, but he doesn't have the same jet touch pass that we have. And so his jet touch pass just isn't as good, and I'm able to kind of clean it up with my user and kind of force him to cut back inside. Now on 4th and 3, I'm spying out my left side defensive end. You guys are going to see the looper come in free, but when he tries to scramble, the QB spy is there to force him outside, and the outside cornerback cleans it up to force the turnover on downs. Now on our drive, we are back to running curl flat, and for a moment I thought Dallas Goedert was going to break all the tackles again, but he did eventually get brought down. Next play, we're in Y trail, hitting the trail route. You guys can see at this point just how easy it is. Just these 3 plays are, I mean, obviously we use more than that in our full scheme, but just these 3 plays alone can be extremely, extremely powerful. On this one, I thought I had some space in the flat. Saquon, unfortunately, I couldn't get any yards with him. And I think I accidentally skipped a play. But on 3rd and 2, we go back to the jet touch pass, and Devontae Smith takes it around the edge. We're into the end zone once again, and my opponent was done after that. And so that is how you can run some of the best money plays in Madden 25 using the Philadelphia Eagles offensive playbook. For the full scheme, head on over to PlaybookProfessor.gg, or if you need defense and you want to see a breakdown of one of my favorite blitzes out of the dime 1-4 formation, check out this video right here.